Hello everyone. Here is the video. This is L518. This is the video for the final exam and Captivate project combination. Was trying to get my Captivate to work to launch a new simulation is still not getting it to work. So I've come up with a different solution. So here's what I have: the software simulation instructions up, and these are located underneath the July to June 29th session. And I want to go through the elements that are here so that everyone understands what they are. So everybody should, from before, remember how to get something to the approximate size. We're using 800 pixels. Remember, go into your modify of the portal, and I actually have using Screencast-O-Matic with this, which is a nice tool for quickly doing this. So you can go up to modify. Oh, sorry. I still fall asleep all the time. So rescale project, and that's how you get your size. Okay. Then the other pieces are the one where people I think have probably got the biggest concerns or questions about. If I go down here to the interactive part. So interaction means that the learner engages with the screen and does something to click on it to go to the next step or to go to the next item. And their interaction with it is if they're being tested. Okay. So you can add that interaction through creating a click box. You can add it through creating a button. Okay. You can do some of the learning interactions, which are more like PowerPoint stuff. I think that you're going to probably do better. Oh, come on. You're going to probably do better with just using the click box or an invisible button. But what you're doing is when you create these, I'll use a click box here, is that you're creating the area that the learner is going to click over, and then you give them feedback on it. Okay, so success, failure, you can give them a hint if you want to, you can turn that off. But this click box is what they're going to do. So if your instructions are, what do you click on to open the web browser? Okay, so the learner is going to have the entire screen to go to, right? They don't know what to click on. All they know is they have to click on the correct item to open the web browser. So they have to click in this area. That's the area they got to go. But this is hidden from them when they view it. They can't see it. If they click outside the area that is the designated, they'll get the failure notice. Okay. If they click inside of it, they'll get success. And then we can say that where they can go after that. So we can go to our properties. And I can say on success, either go to the next slide or jump to a specific slide if you want. Okay. But that's what's going to happen when they go and they click in the correct box. If they don't click in the correct box, then they can go to one of the other locations. Okay. What we want to make sure you do when you create that is to include this little box that says include in quiz. You click on that include quiz, now you can add points to it. Okay. And it's also going to be included in the overall quiz. Okay. So we're going to have it where it's added in their points. Okay. They're going to add to the total. Oh my God. So sorry. My goodness, I cannot stop yawning. So what we have here is we have got a number of, like I said, we have got different properties associated with this item now being part of the quiz. And there's different options in here if we wanted to do an audio over this. Okay. But the key items that go along with this really come down to what happens with it, how many attempts they get. Okay. If they're doing a quiz, we don't want to give them infinite attempts. And I think in the instructions it says they need to have 2 attempts. Okay, so that means they get 2 tries at it. Okay, what happens after the last attempt? Do they just continue on to the next screen, or do they jump to a specific screen? Okay, so for example, if you had them get it wrong and you wanted to have a jump back to the area where you have instruction in the screen in their program, you could actually jump them back to that individual screen where they would have learned what this item is, learn what this text is. Okay, so that's where you could do that jump to the screen. So this is actually creating an interactive assessment. Okay, so anything they click on the screen that has got actually a screen capture is an interactive screen. To add the quiz questions, which is part of this, so part of our thing is you need to add quiz questions. You must add 1 quiz question from our features, quiz feature. Okay, and you can choose any of the quiz types. All right, so I'm going to go in here. If I go up to the quiz, there's one of the options called quiz. If I click on quiz, I can choose question slide. And I can choose any of these different types of question slides. So you can do something simple. If I'm doing maybe a multiple choice, which is like a knowledge check kind of thing, you can choose multiple choice. This tells the number of multiple choice questions you've added. So if you wanted to add 2 of them, you could add 2 in here. And it's going to be graded. We either have options survey and pretest. We're going to actually make this graded as part of the quiz. I could click OK. When that happens, it actually generates the quiz question, which you can ask the quiz question here. So you can say something like, come on, load here. What is the URL for Adobe? Okay, so this would be a knowledge-based question, and then you can put your answers down in here. So just type in this area. It could be www.adobehelp.com. Okay, so you can put in there your different questions in this, just like regular quiz questions. Okay, and when you do it, what you have to do is the correct answer, you put the little bullet in front of, and then that indicates the correct answer. Okay, and so you have also a second quiz question which is created at the same time. Okay, so you have this one, and it created 2 quiz questions. This one you'll have to fill in with other text from whatever you're going to try is going to be. Okay. Now, as soon as those quiz questions are created, a third section is created, which is called quiz results. You don't have to do anything to make this. It automatically is created when you add a quiz question. And in our program, one of the requirements is the very last screen needs to be quiz results. So click on that screen, the quiz results screen, and just drag it to the very end of your program. So if you drag it to the end of your program, what it's going to do is every place that you had an assessment inside of your program, it will take and add up your score. So it'll add the total number score, the maximum score, it'll add all these things for you. And so if you have an interaction that you've got part of a quiz, if you've got, so here we have our interaction. If we say including quiz in it, then it's going to add 1 point to the overall points, depending on what they get with this. So if they get it correct, they get 1 point. If they don't get it correct, they get 0 points. Okay, so that's how you add your interactive element. And we need to have 5 interactions. That means you need to have 5 click boxes on 5 different screens. So in a sense, it'd be whatever you're doing. If you're doing this screen, and what are they supposed to do here? They need to click on the download button, or they need to click on the open button, or whatever. Okay, think about the idea of whatever you've taught them earlier in the instruction. You could actually duplicate those slides, just copy them. You can do control click and then copy. And if you do that, copy and paste. If you do that, let me copy this, paste this in here. Oh, come on, don't crash. Good, okay. And I can paste it in. And then move this to the end. So say that these are my instruction slides at the beginning. Okay. At the end of this, when I want to assess them, I can actually have these slides in the assessment area. So this is the assessment area where they're going to get those questions on what they would have learned earlier. And that's where you're going to add your interactions. Okay. Going over to the next piece of the quiz. Okay. Program all the buttons must function, which is that's a given. Okay. Use orientation. Remember, you're creating instruction that is in some way telling so one of the examples I showed in class was to create this little box. Okay. And remember what user orientation is, step 1 through step 3. It's telling what section they're in. All those different things, that's all user orientation. So remember that. Don't forget what you've done in previous sections of the course. They're all the same things that are covered here. This is just accumulation of it. Visual consistency, so make sure that your colors are consistent. Make sure you got good contrast. so that you can tell the difference between what is the instructional element. So notice that I've got this as a yellow box and my backgrounds are all blues and stuff like that. So it stands off of this screen. So make sure that you're considering those elements when you're designing it. You're making sure you have that. For this, because we were making this part of your final exam project, for each one of the screens, you need to include the audio narration. So for this screen, we need to add in there some audio narration for it. Okay. So remember, you've got audio, and then you can do audio management. You can modify your audio there. Or the other thing that I recommend everybody is when you start your program and start to create it, okay, doing your recording of the screens, is just to turn your narration or turn your audio on. And if you do that, then you'll have a little narration at the bottom, and then you can actually click on. So I don't have any narration in this one, but let me go and add it here. Something actually, let's do this a slightly different way. Hold on a second. Well, I hope I didn't record over myself. So to do that, Lily, right up at the top, you got record. So you can just hit record button and press the record button. I'll calibrate this calibrate thing. Calibrate, okay. And then just talk over what you have on the screen, and then you'll get narration that's in there. And when you're done, you stop, and now you have your narration. And then just talk over what you have on the screen. Once you have what you want to record, you can save it. It's going to ask, you want to extend your play time on your screen. Once you know that you've got your audio correct, then you're going to choose yes, because it'll extend your timeline. I'm going to close this down. Look, if you look at your timeline, you'll notice that my timeline is actually longer because it's got the audio for it. Okay? So if you go through, if you've done your recording while you were creating it, you can certainly do the recording, or after the fact. You can bring up that screen, and then whatever is going on, you can just literally hit the record button and read what is the text that's there, or what might be easier is just to print out the text that you would put on that screen and then read that out. Okay. So programming needs to work, user orientation, and visual consistency, visual elements. Now, remember that you need to have a photo of your face on your welcome screen. So on your very first screen, okay, which this is a screen, but we'll pretend this is our welcome screen. You need to take and have a picture of your face. And remember, you can import the picture into your library. So use your library, have a photo of yourself, and then import that picture into the library and add that onto your welcome screen. Okay, you guys should know what a welcome screen looks like at this point. You've used them in a couple of projects, so you're going to follow that same pattern. Okay, appropriate size, narration, assessment screens. Oh, it says learners should have 3 attempts. So on the assessment screens, you need to give them 3 attempts. Quizzes 1. I think that pretty much is it. Oh, requirements. And I'm sorry, I did make this change because the fact that we're making this part of the final. I added these little elements in here. Requirements are that you need to have at least 10 content screens. That means 10 steps of instruction. 5 interactive assessment screens. That means that you need to have 5 screens. And remember, you can just copy and paste some of your previous screens that you did instruction and make them part of your assessment. And then 2 question screens. And the 2 question screens, I just showed you how to create 2 question screens. You just literally go up to the quiz area, and now you can choose, the different types of questions if you want, true, false, whatever you'd like to use. But those are your question screens. Okay, so it should be pretty straightforward to add those elements. The only thing that is going to take a little bit of time is to make sure you come up with your question for it. That's basically it for the Captivate project, which is going to be, like I said, we're going to treat your Captivate project as if it's your final project. So that's why there's a couple little changes in this element here to indicate to include more elements that would be complete, so it'll give you a complete experience. I think that's pretty much it for my time. So if you have any questions, please send them to me as an email, and I'm happy to answer them. Um, and that's basic.